Okay, dear student, other day we have seen the first part of the best Christmas present in the world. That who has written the letter? Jim. Jim McPherson has written a letter to his wife. What was her name is not given in the first part, and the author who is narrating this incident, he has purchased a old roll top desk from a junk shop, and in that table there was a secret drawer, and he found a tin box there, and inside that box there was a letter, the address to Mrs. McPherson. And then he opened that letter and he started reading, "Dearest Connie, I write to you in a much happier frame of mind because something wonderful has just happened. I write to you in a much happier frame of mind." He is saying to his wife that I am very much happy now, and in the state, my state of mind is very happy, and in this happiness I am writing this letter to you because something wonderful has taken place here. Means he is away from her. And then, what was that wonderful incident? That about at once, we were all standing to in our trenches yesterday morning. Trenches means it is a long, deep brook, you can say. Trenches means खंदक जिसको कहते हैं, जो युद्ध भूमि पर बनाए जाते हैं, जहां सैनिक नीचे छुपकर शत्रु पर गोली चलाते हैं. And he said that we are in our trenches, standing in our trenches yesterday morning, Christmas morning. It was crisp and quiet all about, and there was quietness everywhere. No firing was there, no fighting was there. Everything was very quiet and as beautiful as a morning as I have ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. And I am not seeing such a pleasant morning ever before. You know that Christmas falls in a month of December, and it is a season of winter. And he said that it is very chill. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it, but the truth I am ashamed to say is that Fritz began it. First someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. I should like to able to tell you that we began it. We began it means something they have started from both the sides, because this was the war side. They were on the battlefield, and he said that I should feel ashamed, means being a Christian, as he belonged to England and Christmas is their festival. But he said that I feel ashamed, मुझे शर्म आ रही है, because this wonderful incident have taken place on the battlefield only because of our enemies. Who were they? Only Fritz. Fritz means that Germans. First someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite, and someone from us have seen that a white flag was waving. What is meant by white flag is our enemies, or that's a soldier from the opposite side. He comes by waving the white flag. It means that peace, no bullet, no firing. It is a message of peace. So he saw that someone is waving the white flag. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land, and they were calling us across the no man's land. No man's land is a land where there is no soldier from both the sides. It is the actual line of control, and in between them falls the no man's land. It means that this land do not belong to any nation, any country, and no soldier is allowed to be there, to be present there. So they were calling them to the no man's land. and had said, "Happy Christmas, Tommy, Happy Christmas." And they were saying, Tommy means the Britishers. You remember that Tommies are called the Britishers and Fritz means the Germans. Same to you, Fritz, same to you. I thought that would be that. We all did, but then suddenly one of them was up there in his great coat and waving a white flag, and he has seen that someone from the grey coat from opposite trenches, he was waving the white flag. Don't shoot, lad, someone shouted, and no one did. And someone, their commander, might have shouted and ordered, he had commanded that don't shoot. He is waving a white flag, it means it is a symbol of peace, that we do not want war, no fire. Then there was another phrase up on the parapet and another, keep your heads down. I told the men it's a trick, but it wasn't. Keep your heads down. I told the men it's a trick, but it wasn't. And I told the men, their soldiers, that it may be the trick of our enemies. By waving a white flag, they will suddenly attack on us. It may be their trick, but it was not the trick. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. It's a Christmas day, Tommy. We have snaps. We have sausage. We meet you. Yes, by this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land and not a rifle between them. And everyone was walking towards the no man's land. 1, 2, 3, 4, and many of them, some one of them was carrying a bottle of champagne on his head. They told that we have sausage, we have cakes, we have snacks. Come on boys, what are we waiting for? And then there were no stopping them. I was the officer, I should have stopped them there and then. And Jim McPherson said, I was the officer, he was commanding officer. He said that I should have stopped them from doing so because it may be the trick. But he said that we were so enthusiastic and so overwhelmed with the happiness that I could not stop myself, and we rushed towards the no man's land. I could see men walking slowly, and I was one of them. I was part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. There were no rifles, no bullets. And in the middle of the war, we were making peace. Making peace by celebrating the Christmas. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie. Connie is the name of the wife of Jim McPherson. That Jim McPherson had written a letter to Connie McPherson. My feelings as I looked into the eyes of the fridge officer who approached me, hand outstretched, Hansel, he said. And I looked into the eyes of fridge officer. The German officer, he stretched his hand outside to shake his hand with him and said, Hansel. Hansel was his name. He said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it, I am from Dusseldorf. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas. He said, gripping my hand warmly and holding that I am from Dusseldorf. He belongs to the city Dusseldorf, and I play the cello in the orchestra. And what was professionally, he was a musician. He would play a cello, organ, instrumental organ in orchestra. Actually, you may know that there is a compulsion for German and English people to serve at least 3 hours in the army. So, he was a musician, and Captain Jim McPherson, I replied. And Jim replied that my name is Jim McPherson and a happy Christmas to you too. I am school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. And Jim McPherson introduced himself that I am a school teacher and I belong to Dorset in the West England. Ah, Dorset, he smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. We shared my rum ration and his excellent sausage. And he said, oh, Dorset, Hansel said, the German, Captain Hansel, he said, "Oh, Dorset, I know it very well." And after that, they shared their rum, their wine, their sausage, their cakes, and their sweets with each other. And we talked. Connie, how we talked. He spoke almost perfect English. Though Hansel was a German soldier, he would speak a very perfect English with correct pronunciation. But it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset, never even been to England. He had learned all the new of England from school. Though he never been to Dorset or never been to England, but he had learned all these things about England and about the Dorset in his school days from the books. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. His favorite book, Far from the Madding Crowd. And his favorite British English writer, Thomas Hardy. And his famous book is Far from the Madding Crowd. So out there in no man's land, we talked of Bathsheba and Gabriel Hook and Sergeant Troy and Dorset, and they discussed so many things with them. They were talking, they were celebrating happily. They have forgotten that they are on the battlefield. As I looked about me, there were huddles of khaki and grey everywhere. Huddles means jamav. And he looked. He had taken a glance and he saw that there were huddles of khaki and grey coats. Means khaki and grey means khaki means the British soldiers and grey means the German soldiers. They all were sitting together, enjoying, celebrating Christmas and eating, drinking, talking, laughing, smoking. Hansel and I share what was left of your wonderful Christmas cake. Connie, he thought the marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. And they share their feelings with each other. Jim McPherson wrote in his letter and he told Connie that Hansel liked the marzipan cakes very much and he was my enemy. We agreed about everything and he was my enemy. There never was a Christmas party like it, Connie. And he said, though he was my enemy, but we have celebrated like a friend. Now, he said that there never was a Christmas party like it, Connie, and I have never ever celebrated the Christmas this way in my life. Then someone, I don't know, who brought out a football. Great coats were dumped in piles to make goalposts, and someone among the German soldiers, he bought the football, and the piles of khaki coats and grey coats have been made as a goalpost and dumped on piles to make goalposts. And the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Freeze out in the middle of no man's land, and the match, a football match, begins between Germans and England, Tommies and Freeze. Hansel and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the cold as much as anything. There was a moment when I noticed our breaths mingling in the air between us. And he said that our breathings were mingling in the air. Breathings, mingling means mixing. Now they have completely forgotten that they are the enemies. So, the bond of love had been formed among the Germans and the Britishers. You know that every soldier fought for his country. They have no any personal matters or issues. They fought for their country, each soldier. And he said, between us, he saw it too and smiled. Jim McPherson, he said after a while, I think this is how we should resolve the war. And Jim McPherson, Hansel said, by playing a match, we can resolve this matter, this war. Then why should I fight? Why should make the children orphaned? Why should we make the women widows? Why should we sacrifice our lives if we can resolve this matter by playing a football match? No children are orphaned, no wives become widows. I would prefer cricket, I told him. Then we Thomas could be sure of winning probably. And Jim McPherson said, if this war is resolved by the games, then we will prefer cricket. Because the cricket is the national game of England, and Jim McPherson with laugh, he was laughing and telling that then we would prefer cricket because we are sure that we will win the cricket match. We laughed at that and together we watched the game. Sad to say, Connie Fridge won 2-1. And then he writes further that Connie sad to say that who won the match? The Germans. The Fridge won the match 2-1. They had German team scored 2 goals and the England team scored 1 goal. But as Hansol generously said, our goal was wider than theirs, so it wasn't quite fair. But as Hansol generously said, our goal was wider than theirs, so it wasn't quite fair. But he accepted that the goal post made our goal post on your side, it was wider than yours. That's why we were able to make 2 goals, score 2 goals. And the time came, and all too soon when the game was finished, the snaps and the rum and the sauces had long since run out, and we knew it was all over. I wished Hans well and told him I hoped we could see his family again soon, that the fighting would end and we could all go home. And now the time had come to say goodbye to each one, and they were wishing each other that they will soon meet their family and this war will resolve and everything will be right again and would end and we could go all home. I think that is what every soldier wants on both sides, Hans Wolf said. And that is what is no soldier wants, that there should be a war between 2 nations, 2 countries, because they have to sacrifice, they have to lose their lives, and there is no good in war. Only devastation and destruction is followed by the war. So no soldier wants war. Every soldier wants, I think that is what every soldier wants on both sides. Hansel said, take care, Jim McPherson. I shall never forget this moment, nor you. He saluted and walked away from me slowly, unwillingly. And then Jim McPherson wrote that unwillingly he was not wished to go into their trenches. So where the bond of love and affection, the friendship has been formed among them. With heavy heart, they walked towards their trenches, and I felt he turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey coats men drifting back toward the trenches. And he waved, and then they are now the German soldiers. That night, back in our dugouts, we heard them singing a carol and singing it quite beautifully. And throughout the night, the German singer, they were singing the Christmas carol, the songs from their trenches throughout the night, and they were singing quite beautifully, very nicely. It was Still Night, Silent Night. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus of while shepherds watched. And both the sides, they were giving them chorus, background sound, and both the sides, they were singing the carols throughout the night. And we exchanged carols for a while, and then we all fell silent. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long I live. And then Jim McPherson further wrote that I will never forget this Christmas throughout my life. It will remain in my heart because it is the first time that the 2 enemy soldiers from both the sides, they have celebrated the Christmas in no man's land. It never had been taken place in the history of world. Dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. Dearest Connie, he wrote, by Christmas time next year, when next year there will be a Christmas, this war will be nothing. This war might have might have been ended, but there will be a terrible memories of the last year's Christmas celebration. And I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. We shall be together again soon, I am sure for it. And he said that happened today how much both armies long for peace. Long means desirous. They are willing for peace from both the sides, and we shall be together again soon, I am sure of it. And we shall means I will be at home and we will be together. I hope so. And in this way, he concludes his letter, your loving Jim McPherson. So in this way, they have celebrated the Christmas on the no man's land. Then what happened? See, this was the letter the author have read. The letter he had found in a secret drawer. That was the letter written by Jim McPherson to Connie McPherson. This letter was written from the battlefield. There was a battle between the England and Germany. The Tommies are called Britishers and Fritz means the German soldiers. How they have celebrated the Christmas in no man's land. He had described all these things, and it was a very wonderful moment, very wonderful thing for him. All these things he has described in his letter. And then what happened? Now we will come to the current situation. I found Burlington House nursing home easily enough. See, I folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back into the envelope. The writer, he has folded the letter carefully and put that letter inside the envelope. I kept awake all night. By morning, I knew what I had to do. He was restless because this letter was very emotional, and on that box it was written by Connie McPherson that this box should be buried with her when time comes, because it was the last memory of Jim McPherson for Connie McPherson. And that's why the author, after reading this letter, he was restless. I kept awake all night, and by morning I knew what I had to do. And he knew that what he had to do. I drove into Bridport, just a few miles away, and the address was given on this letter. So he went to that address, Bridport, miles away. I asked a boy walking his dog where Cropper Beaches was. House number 12 turned out to be nothing but a burnt out cell, the roof gaping, the windows boarded up, and he found that address, he approached that address, he reached there, and he asked a boy who was walking with his pet dog about that address, and he told them. But when he reached there, he was that at that house number 12, that it was nothing but the burnt shell. It was totally gutted down in a fire. The roof was gaping. Everything was dismantled there. And with windows boarded, I knocked at the next door, and asked if anyone knew the whereabouts of Mrs. McPherson. And he went to the neighbors of Jim McPherson, and he asked them whether they know where this Jim McPherson and Connie McPherson are now. Oh yes, said the old man in his slippers. He knew her well, a lovely old lady. He told me, a bit muddle-headed. And that man, the neighbor, told the author that he knew that lady very well. She was a very adorable and lovely lady, a old lady. But at her age, she was entitled to be, wasn't she? 101 years old, and he told that she was 101 years old. She had been in a house when it caught fire. When that house caught fire, she was inside the house. No one really knew how the fire had started, and no one knew about how this house had caught fire. No one knew. No one means our neighbors. No one really knew how the fire had started, but it could well have been candles. But we can guess, we can say that it might have taken place because of the candle. She used candles rather than electricity because she always thought electricity was too expensive. Why she would burn candle inside her house? Because she said that electricity is too expensive. महंगी पड़ती है. That's why she would use the candle. And she was 101 years old. The fireman had got her out just in time. She was in a nursing home now. He told me Burlington House on the Dorchester Road on the other side of town. And the neighbor, the old man, he has given the address where Connie MacPherson was admitted. And the writer, I found Burlington House nursing home easily enough. There were paper chains up in the halfway, and a lighted Christmas tree stood in the corner with a lopsided angels on top. And this was also when the author reached that Burlington nursing home. See, what was the coincidence? Sanyog, that this was also a Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas, and that nursing home was decorated with Christmas tree, lights, papers, with color papers and everything. And I could see through into the dining room where everyone was wearing a paper hat and singing. Everyone was wearing that hat and singing the carol. The matron had a hat on too and seemed happy enough to see me. She even offered me a mince pie. Pie means a cake. That the matron who was there, who is there to take care of the old peoples, old ladies. And she offered a cake to author. She walked me along the corridor. Mrs. MacPherson is not in with the others. She told me. She is rather corridor. Mrs. MacPherson is not in with the others. She told me. Hers rather confused today, so I thought it best if she had a good rest. And Mrs. MacPherson was not among the other ladies who were singing and celebrated the Christmas Eve because she was some unrest. She was some confused. That's why she had been asked to take rest. So I am sure she will be only too pleased to see you. She took me into the conservatory with wicker chairs and potted plants and around and left me. And the matron said to author that she will be pleased to see you because no one comes to meet Mrs. Connie MacPherson. And if she knew that someone had come to meet her, she will be pleased, she will be happy to see you. And she had silver white hair pinned into a wispy bun. And means her hairs were put in a bun, in a bundle. And bun, she was gazing out at the garden. And she was sitting in a wheelchair and gazing, watching outside the garden. Hello, I said. She turned and looked up at me vacantly. Happy Christmas, Connie. And when he asked her, called her name, hello, Mrs. Connie MacPherson. She turned towards the author and looked at him vacantly. Vacant means she has no expectation, no desire, or she was not waiting for anyone. And I went on, I found this. Happy Christmas, Connie. I went on, I found this. I think it's yours. And she handed over that tin, that box, and said that I think that this is yours. I opened the tin box and gave it to her. That was the moment her eyes lit up with recognition and her face became suffused with a sudden glow of happiness. And as soon as she opened that tin, her eyes were lit up. चमक उसकी आंखों में आ गई. With the recognition means that she has recognized that that was her box and what was inside the box. And I explained about the days, about how I had found it, but I don't think she was listening. And the author was explaining her that how he had purchased that roll-top desk from a junk shop and how he had found that tin inside the secret desk. But she was not in a mood to listen to him for a while. She said nothing but stroked the letter tenderly with her fingers. But she said nothing but stroked the letter with her fingertip. Suddenly, she reached out and took my hand. Her eyes were filled with tears. And suddenly, Connie Macpherson took Arthur's hand in her hand, and the tears, her eyes were filled with tears. You told me you would come home by Christmas, dearest, she said, and here you are, the best Christmas present in the world. Come closer, Jim dear, sit down. What did she think? That he is a Jim Macpherson. Because in his letter, Jim Macpherson had promised her that he will be at home in the next Christmas. So she thought that she might have lost her memory. She is thinking that Jim Macpherson has come because he has promised. And she said that you come on this Christmas Eve. It is the best present in the world for me. And I sat down beside her and she kissed my cheek. I read your letter so often, Jim, every day. I wanted to hear your voice in my head. She said that I would, when you did not come, I had written your letter so many times. Every day I wanted to hear your voice. It always made me feel you were with you. And this letter, whenever I would read this letter, I would feel that you are with me, always with me, and now you are back. You can read it to me yourself. Now you are back. Now you read this letter for me. I am desirous, I am very much eager to listen to your voice. Please read it for me. Would you do that for me? Jim dear, I just want to hear your voice again. I would love that so much, and then perhaps we